called it the best consumer CPU we've ever seen, and what it essentially did was take wins in areas it has always lost to Intel since it's existed, and basically the one thing that Core had over Ryzen essentially no longer existed in most things, games, a lot of applications, single-threaded performance, lightly threaded, and it is just a hands-down winner, period, if you look at performance as the thing you want for your desktop computer. So I think Ryzen 5000 is the clear winner. I did want to give a shout out to laptops, and I was really torn between Tiger Lake and Ryzen 4000, which was a phenomenal CPU as well. Just want to bring this up here because I know it's going to get squelched. But I think if I had to pick between those two, for most people, what they do in a small laptop, I'm going to say Tiger Lake, because Tiger Lake really does bring it on what most people are going to do in a small laptop, and I do think it deserves a call out there. But clearly, for the meat and potatoes audience and desktop and sockets and RGB land, it's all about Ryzen 5000, which blows everything away we've ever seen before.
But what part specifically?
I always name the whole family because it is, essentially the same microarchitecture. These are just simply changes and nuances to make different prices. If I had to pick, I would say the Ryzen 9 5900X, is sort of my favorite because 16 cores is a little hard for everybody to justify. 12, I think, is a really good step up over the 10 core Common Lake S part. And, it leaves you a little room to go to the 16. But yeah, if I had to pick one, I would say the Ryzen 9 5900X would be my favorite of the bunch.
Okay. I dig it. Brad, you want to go next?
Yes, I agree with everything Gordon said. I actually feel like the fight in laptops is much more interested and heated than it is on desktops right now. But I agree with him that Ryzen 5000 easily earns this award, deserves this award, because this is the first time in 15 years that AMD isn't the best value pick or the best budget pick or the best pick with compromises versus Intel. AMD Ryzen 5000 is just flat out the best processor you can buy right now in the categories that it competes at, and that hasn't been said in a very long time. I actually wrote down Ryzen 5 5600X for my pick, because I don't consider $750, 5950Xs to really be consumer parts. I think the 5600X delivers spectacular value. It's faster than the 10900K in games, even though it has fewer cores and whatnot. But considering, that it's been 15 years since AMD's, come close to this, I think that I would be down for just saying Ryzen 5000 as a family, like Gordon suggested. I think it's just they earned it this time, despite the $50 price increases. Yes.
Interesting. All right. Elena, what are you going to throw your head in with?
Well, everyone pretty much said all the things that I was going to say. And I think almost because I have a feeling which way this vote is going to go, I'm actually going to nominate something different just so that it gets a shout out. I would like to forward, I guess it's going to be the top of the line. So it's the 4900HS. So it's a laptop part, Ryzen. And I think Tiger Lake is great. I don't disagree at all with anything that Gordon said. I want to forward the Ryzen 4000 parts though, because I think it's really important for us to have competition in that space. Like we said this time and time again over the years that Intel may have been losing ground on the desktop side, but they were just so strong in laptops, and there wasn't anything that was coming out from the AMD side that was really challenging them. And I feel like this is the first year where we finally saw it. And I think that's really important for consumers to have that choice and have that competition, because it leads to better innovations, it leads to faster innovations, and it leads, honestly, to lower prices. You get more bang for your buck. And so for that, I am nominating one of the Ryzen 4000 parts.
Ryzen 9 4900HS, which is their 35 watt TDP part, like that.
So it's meant for chunkier laptops. It's meant for
a little chunky, and I would actually, it's one of those things where I think if you had a choice between a Comet Lake H laptop, one of those old 14 nanometer, 8-core Intel parts, and Ryzen 4000 is no contest. And gaming laptops, yes, assuming you could get it paired with the GPU you want. But I think for most of what people, that's why I was really torn, because I think Ryzen 4000 is fantastic in those, gaming performance laptops paired with the GPU, and I think Tiger Lake is frankly awesome on its own. It stands on its own. It doesn't really necessarily need to be tied with the GPU, although I guess it could be pretty cool if it was. So I'm really torn between those two.
Well, I did it for you, Gordon.
Yeah.
Got you covered.
I think it's very telling that Intel's striking back with Tiger Lake, specifically in laptop burst, and that tells you just how important these Ryzen laptop chips are.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely and it is extremely important because laptops, people don't realize this in our focused little desktop world, but laptops that's where the money is. So that's where the bacon comes, and that's what is going to get serviced first.
And Brad loves bacon.
Yes, we all do. Even vegetarians love bacon.
We've talked about this. So the chat is kind of split a little bit. But the thing is, it's pretty much all Ryzen 5000. But there's a little bit of delineation between 5800X, 5900X, 5600X. Nobody's going for the top end part, but I think there's a little bit of trying to figure out what's the best value, I guess, out of those. Me personally, I was coming in with the 5800X because that's probably what I will put in the next video editing system that we're going to be building hopefully next year. I think the jump up is worth it for the price, and that 8-core 16-thread, oh boy, yeah, I would love to be able to use that. So but the thing is, I guess have we ever really voted for a family of parts?
I'm down for it.
We have before, actually.
Yeah.
I think we did that with SSDs one year. It was kind of a group.
There's no hard and fast rules. We're making this up on the fly.
Yeah, which is the best part of it.
The forming our traditions.
And the plus, I think one of the issues with picking a particular model is
especially now,
but the models really are tuned for your needs. The 16 core is not as popular because most of us are, frankly, not 3D renderers. So I understand that. And then some people are like, 6 cores or just for a gaming rig is all I need. So I think it's a little silly to just sort of focus on one particular model. It really is the whole family because it's,
Well, how about this? Is there any Ryzen 5000 model that you wouldn't pick, or that you would pick an Intel chip over?
Well, that's the interesting thing is as you get down to those 6 core, those lower thread count limited parts, you don't get that advantage necessarily that you're getting at the higher end with Ryzen. And you could legitimately make an argument that if you're really just building a gaming box, so a Ryzen 5 5600X for a gaming box, are you really going to feel that different over a Core i5, 600K part? Is it going to change the world?
I agree with that argument. And some Intel has dropped prices to make its parts more appealing, especially in that niche. That being said, the fact that that's the very thing that used to get said about Ryzen has now been flipped, and now that's what you have to say about Intel. You won't really feel the difference. That's why Ryzen 5000 deserves to win.
It does, I think, clearly it does, because we're using the exact same language which people called excuses we would make for Intel. For AMD to make for Intel, because I've argued that if you're playing 4K games with your high-end GPU, it ain't gonna make no difference what CPU you buy. For the most part, you're so GPU limited, so it doesn't matter, right? You could do a 3000 Ryzen part. So yeah, it's just that's why to me there is no question that it's going to be Ryzen 5000. I think we're just sort of
Ryzen 5000. That's my vote.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the last thing, and maybe I'm sure this will come up in GPU as well, but I have to mention it. Nobody can really get their hands on this stuff, though.
Yeah, we'll cover
mean-
that in the worst trend area.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I gotta.
The problem, I was thinking about that when I was going this, because like a 3600 is still a very good part of Ryzen 3600, but you can't even buy those now. So I was gonna try to pull a fast one, and be like, oh, buy last gen, but you can't buy last gen either. So.
And you seen the prices on the 3600 part? I mean,
Yeah,
it's crazy,
ludicrous.
right?
It kind of goes up and down. It's really just dependent when you can grab stock and where.
Yeah, I know, but I think my problem is it kind of goes up and down. Really doesn't really you're going to pay $550 for a 3600X? That's just sort of like that's not up. That's like that's like out of the atmosphere, and you're on your way to the moon.
I mean, that's scalper pricing. Like, I'm looking at PC Part Picker right now. 3600 is showing at 232, which is a little inflated, but it's
$50 more than it used to be.
yeah.
yeah.
I just think Ryzen, AMD earned this one, and we should give it to them.
Yeah, and I don't think availability should factor into
Yeah.
it at all.
Okay.
In the current
We'll address
environment.
that separately, as Brad said.
Yeah. Well,
We have to give it to it all its merits of performance and the whole history of like the thing that kills me. I was reading my review recently, and I'd forgotten like WinRAR, which I've just kind of run out of habit because it's just always run so poorly on AMD. People get on my case like, oh, you shouldn't be running it, but look, it's actually outperforming Core in a benchmark it's just traditionally lost Intel on. So it's just a stunning turn of events. You can't,
the chat would like to throw one more in there. VC Gesture gave us $5, thank you, and he said this is the moment where Kanye jumps on the stage and says, "I'm gonna let you finish." And somebody else, oh goodness, said that Apple's M1 chip would like to also, get a shout out.
Yeah, it deserves a shout out, but it's not going to win. No, this is the PC hardware full nerd awards. So
We talked a lot about it, though. It could change the landscape even on the Windows side.
No, it won't. It will not. I can just tell you, it will not. It's just, let's be honest. The answer, let's do some analysis here. Supercomputers come back and said, no, it will not.
Okay. All right, then.
Very definitive.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to say never, but let's just say never. I mean, you never want to say never, except when you say never. No, it will not. Just fundamentally, there's just different. It's a part built for a different world. That's not going to. No.
Okay. All right, then. I think we're all good then. Yeah. I'm going to flash the award slide up here. The best CPU of 2020 is the AMD Ryzen 5000 series. All of them. They all win. Big win for AMD. Love it. Awesome.
But just to be nominated means something.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations, Apple, just to be nominated.
No, I didn't nominate them. I did nominate Tiger Lake and
Oh.
Ryzen 4000, and so did Elena. So just to be nominated.
Got it.
it's weird because it's been such a weird year, but it's been a great year for PC hardware, especially as we keep going through all this.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic, right?
Well, I think, there's probably a little bit more back and forth going to be going on in the GPU space. So, Brad,
Yes.
as our
I'd rather go last so I don't influence y'all. I want to hear what people have to say.
Yeah, well, sure. Okay, then Gordon.
3200G.
Yeah.
You want me to go?
why don't
I
you
thought
go
about
first?
this. I thought about this long and hard, which is all of about 10 seconds. I decided the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3080 is deserving of the best GPU of the year. You could argue the whole family, like we just did with CPUs, but I do think that 3080 hits that sweet spot of just amazing performance. Finally onto a new process, and it's got it all. It's got it all.
Okay. 3080. That's Gordon's vote. Elena, I think
Oh.
we know what you're gonna do.
What?
3200G.
Brad's gonna somehow find a way to make it from New Hampshire to San Francisco in record time just to throttle me.
It'd be like the Jay and Silent Bob movie. Just comes in from the side.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious, actually. Probably painful for me, but still. I actually had a really hard time with this category, like a super difficult time, and I was actually hoping that Brad would go first to save me the trouble of having to really make a hard choice. But now it's all exposed.
I want to hear
Wow.
now.
I can go. I can go if
intrigued.
you want.
It's okay. I mean, we're gonna have to vote anyway, so I I can just throw something stupid out there and then I could immediately abandon it. Gordon's face is beautiful right now for
I
our audio
wanna know.
listeners.
What could it be?
Well, so here's the thing, like I was having trouble deciding, period, because there's just if we're picking a specific GPU, there's a lot. It's kind of like Ryzen 5000, where it's like there's a lot to be said for like different cards at different price points, depending on the audience. And for me, just to pick one was just a hard thing to do. So like, as you pointed
You
out,
love them all. You love them
no,
all.
I don't love them all actually, but I do love more than one. So 3080, like as you already outlined all the reasons why that one deserves a nomination, but I also think 3070 and 3060 Ti for their respective price points also deserve a shout out. And then on the flip side, the 6800 XT and 6800, also great cards. I mean, I love the fact that, again, similar to the whole laptop things, that AMD is back and able to compete in that space again. I really think that, having, like I said, I'll just sound like a broken record at this point, but competition is really good. And I know there's been a lot of fuss over the ray tracing things. I'm sure everyone who's watching and is, part of our space knows exactly what I'm talking about. That said, I still think rasterization is super important for a ton of people. And so even though the AMD cards aren't as strong on ray tracing, they still offer a lot to the people who are okay with not, having the absolute latest and greatest features. So I can't decide. I can't decide. I think if you really pressed me on it, I'd nominate the 6800 XT. But I can't decide, truly. That's really where I stand.
It's really interesting, right? Because when we started this, it was clear, like, hey, this is the best chip you could buy. This is the best chip you could buy. But what we praised Ryzen for when it came out is like, hey, now there's options. Now you can really tailor things to your needs, which is great for people out there buying stuff, but it really makes these award shows hard.
Super hard.
So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think 6800 is. We welcome AMD back. I mean, competition is good for everybody. That's what's so great about it. So I don't think you should. I don't think you should feel bad to nominate 6800. I mean,
I don't feel bad about that. I just feel like it doesn't encapsulate everything that I just outlined. Do you know what I mean? Like if someone were just to look at like our nominations list and they would just say like, "Oh, Elena went for that. That's all she cares about." And it's like, no, I mean, I can see a bigger spectrum than that. It's not reflected in my choice.
Well, we did get, let's see, we got $10 a little bit ago from Frank, PDX42. Says they're casting their vote for the age-old GTX 1080 Ti.
Hall of Fame. That's in the Hall of Fame next year.
I know, right? Yeah,
Hall of Famer.
We should Hall of Fame. Hey, you know what? It's still a great card. Still, people still using it. And I tell you, I really wanted to go with the 6800 XT. It's AMD's back, big Navi. You have something at the high end to compete. There's legitimate choices at the high end. But me personally, I would never use that. I mean, we've talked about the AMD versus Intel stuff, so I have been using this 3080 that Brad had sent along, the EVGA for the Win 3 Ultra. So that's the only one I've literally been able to touch of the new cards. So yeah, I would go in on the 3080, but there are somebody gave a shout out for the goodness, it was a 3060 Ti. I can't remember. I'm sorry, I can't find it again. But there was a specific version of a 3060 Ti that some of the people in the chat were excited about, and also in the chat people are excited about the 6900 XT. Go figure.
so Elena, I think she's throwing in for 6800 XT. I'm not.
I chose 6800 XT.
Okay.
So 6900 XT is a very good card. I just think in terms of what it's doing for the space, like it's not going to have as much of an impact, I feel, as the 6800 XT, which is why I chose that card instead.
And Adam, you're picking
3080. Yep.
Okay.
It's funny because usually if you go back and look over these shows, I'm usually either the budget king or the performance king kind of a deal usually catches my eye. But this time around, I, unlike Adam, have actually tried all these graphics cards and played games with all these graphics cards and many variants of all these graphics cards. And out of every single one I've reviewed so far, I think we're up to 7 new models so far this year, something like that, which sucks when you consider that only one of them is under $500. But that one that's under $500 is getting my nod. The GeForce RTX 3060 Ti, $400, theoretical MSRP at retail. When I go there and I think about all the other graphics cards out there, each of them has a significant flaw in some way, in my opinion. Even though they all rated very highly, there's something you could say negative about each of them. The higher end GeForce cards, it's like, what do you mean they only put 10 gigabytes on the 3080? For the Radeon cards, it's like, what do you mean I'm paying, $800, $700 for a graphics card and I can't play ray trace games at 4K? Like, each has very strong pros, but each also has, significant minuses that can make a difference. To me, the GeForce RTX 3060 Ti is virtually flawless for what it's trying to be. It is an excellent, no compromises, 60 frames per second plus graphics cards with all the eye candy turned on, except for ray tracing and Cyberpunk. It's a very, very good ray tracing performer. It supports DLSS 2.0, which I consider a game changer. And that 8 gigabytes of memory, people might go, we had that on cards a few years ago, like we had a discussion a couple of weeks ago, but that's what you need for 1440p gaming right now. To me, as I look across all those 7 or 8 cards that have been released so far this year, the RTX 3060 Ti is the only one that's perfect for its price and positioning. You don't make any significant compromises on any front. And at $400, if you can buy one, it's the most affordable option this year as well. So I just can't think of anything bad to say about it. It's only 12% slower than the 3070, but it costs 25% less. So it's a winner. I think the 3060 Ti is NVIDIA's answer to AMD being surprisingly strong. They're like, oh, we gotta, stop the bleeding here. Let's make the 3060 Ti be real badass, and hopefully AMD can't catch up with that.
So that's 2 for 3080, 1 for 3060 Ti, and 1 for 6800 XT. Do we go with pure democracy on this one?
Tell you,
Brad makes some very compelling arguments.
He really does. He really does. I'm willing to sway my vote because that does make sense. There is that on the 3080 that 10 gig limit. While it's not, it depends on just how future proof it's going to be. It is smaller than you would want it, especially for that price. So,
extra 2 gigs would have made a big difference.
But let's remember it's GDDR
6X.
Whatever, 6X, so super duper high speed, right?
Yeah, it's very fast. That's part of what makes them able to game in 4K so well, the Ampere cards.
So it's not really clear that having a larger frame buffer would change things in any of the games made now or probably for the next couple of years.
True.
I'm saying, Adam, stay with me. 3080 is the card to be at. It's really just sort of like the pinnacle of what you can get without going crazy. And,
because nobody's going to sit here and say the 3090 is. Sure, it's the top end card, but it's just like, that's. That's just so they could have something at the top end.
I do want to point out that we do have a very separate process of nominations versus voting. So
true.
Even though we have 2 nominations for the 3080, it does not actually make it the winner automatically.
Very true. Yeah.
I didn't know did we have an audited process?
Well, because we gotta hear the arguments, right? We hear the arguments, then we all vote on it. Yeah.
So, I could abandon ship on mine immediately if I wanted to.
Yep.
It is cheaper, Elena. It is cheaper.
Okay.
AMD deserves a lot of credit for being where it's at, by the way. Now that we're talking through the CPU and GPU, it's crazy that AMD, not crazy, but, very awesome to see that they've toppled Intel and are going toe-to-toe with NVIDIA's highest-end GPU. Like the 6900 XT, we don't recommend most people should buy that. But the fact that they can take down NVIDIA's $500 more top-end card in some games, like, it's been a hell of a year for AMD.
Yeah, I think that shouldn't be dismissed. And I think maybe it's a little hard to not be biased. Not necessarily, I'm not saying bias against AMD, but bias against the lack of cards out there. And I think if 6800 XT had come out and just simply, like, you could just shake a tree and it was falling out of the trees, and like, I think the reception, it feels hard. I mean, it was hard. It wasn't hard. It wasn't easy for anybody, but like some of these AMD cards are just harder to get. And I think it's colored it a little bit for me, because I mean, if 6800 XT had come out and, man, all day, every day, everybody had it, it would probably feel a lot different. But
Yeah.
it does color it.
Although Rick Elder in chat, YouTube chat points out that the 6800 and 6800T, if they weren't compelling, he wants to know, would this 3060 Ti even be out by now or priced so well?
Yeah, it's a good point. But
Yeah, no, it's a good card.
they're all great cards. They're all just great cards this time around, which is great. It's very different from the Vega days.
And John Dokic says it's 2020, so why not just give AMD the awards? So.
But I just really think the 3060 Ti is the one that fits its niche perfectly. There's no asterisks involved. It's the only drawbacks I had about that in my review tied directly to NVIDIA's funky Founders Edition. Like, I hate that 12-pin adapter, and it was a little bit loud compared to some aftermarket things. There was nothing wrong with the actual graphics card, the GPU itself. Like, to me, the configuration, the setup for that is, like, perfect for what it's trying to be. And I can't say that about any other graphics card out there.
Oh, wow, I totally just blanked on the question I had.
Yeah, you
while
did.
you're thinking about it, I'll read the super chat from BC Jester. So BC Jester gave us another $5. Thank you. Said best GPU this year is consoles. They come with a free CPU and SSD.
Hey.
He's throwing in all these contrary picks, and I don't hate him. I don't hate him.
Nothing is as bad as 2018.
It'd be interesting if you could take your console, plug it in through Thunderbolt to your desktop computer, and just use the GPU on
That would
it.
be amazing.
And then have the storage, active storage, and we use console as an eGPU. Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
That would be actually super funny.
Actually, I remembered the question that I had. How does the 3060 Ti stack up with the 20 series card? Like,
It is slightly faster, like a hair, like marketing faster, let's call it, than the 2080 Super. So the 2080 Super was $800 and the second fastest graphics card in the world up until the launch of the 30 series. So 6 months ago, this would have been faster than the second fastest graphics card in the world.
Okay. Man.
It's just,
all right.
it
Well,
brings it.
Why does everybody do the Jedi mind trick on Adam every time? It's cheaper.
Let's do a vote. Let's do a vote. Gordon, what's your vote? Now that you've heard all the arguments.
I have heard all the arguments. They're all compelling. But let me tell you, the 3080 does everything. 4K gaming, ray tracing performance is spectacular. You get the more popular CUDA and NV Ink engines, all that goodness wrapped up into an amazing graphics card that you can arguably say is the first NVIDIA card since maybe in a while that deserves an 80 series model number. So I think that should not be ignored.
I don't disagree with that because the 2080 and 2080 Super were not that great. But I'm just saying that the 3060 Ti also has NVIDIA CUDA and all that stuff. So there's one thing, however, that the 3080 cannot do, and that is play Doom Eternal at 4K with nightmare settings because it uses too much texture, which is the concern with it only having 10 gigabytes of memory. So on the Radeon cards, they can handle that because they have the bigger memory buffer. 3060 Ti gets my vote because for what it's trying to do, you don't have any complaints about it.
Okay, Elena, what are you throwing in with?
I want to go last.
Okay. I mean, man, Gordon, or yeah, 3080. Brad really is giving some good things here, but you know what? I'm gonna stick with the 3080 because I feel like that is just the high-end pinnacle card. It is what exemplifies this new 30 series generation, and yeah, I mean, sure, it has that one flaw, but it's not a deal breaker for me. So I'm sticking with 3080. Elena.
She's gonna game it.
So Brad has cast his vote and he's sticking with it, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'm throwing my lot in with Brad. I want to make this go to chat.
Because the math is
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
it's just lower costs.
Okay.
It's not lower cost. For me, it has nothing to do with the cost. It's what
Brad.
the card is trying to do.
I'm not saying you, Brad.
True. All right, so then, yeah, let's put it to the chat. Chat, let me know in the comments, 3060 Ti or the 3080. What's your vote? We did get $5 from Aquatic Borealis. I like that name. That's a good one. Gave us $5 Canadian, I guess it is. It said, what about cloud gaming? You don't have to buy any hardware. You can get high-end rendering without buying a new card. Which, I mean, maybe it'll be in best innovation. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I don't think it quite applies to this one.
So many people are having, while the chat's getting their votes in, problems with Cyberpunk because it does not run very well on older hardware. I did an article about it. I talked about it a bunch on here. I'm not going to keep beating the drum, but I'm just going to say again, give it a shot if you already bought it on the PC on GeForce Now, NVIDIA's cloud streaming service. You'll get 1080p, 60 frames a second. You can turn on ray tracing if you buy that upsell. And it ties into the game that you already purchased on Steam, Epic, or GOG. So it's worth giving it a shot if your hardware's not, up to snuff.
Yeah, definitely. And stay away from the Stadia version. I downloaded the Stadia version just to see how performance was over there, and it does not connect to GOG
Took one
platforms.
For the team right there, dude.
I did, yeah. Just to see. I got that. They sent me that free Founders Edition pack, so I was like, all right, I'll try it. But it doesn't connect to GOG. Like, I can't get my cloud saves. And I was like,
nope, the Stadia is a console in the cloud.
oh my god. Well, at least. Yeah, I was just like, come on. Anyway, it looks like the votes are in. Lena, you can check my math, but it looks like to me the 3060 Ti is the one that
and it's pretty close though.
It's pretty
not
close.
Like,
It's pretty
not
close,
like a clear
yeah.
absolute winner, but between YouTube chat and I'm also looking at Twitch chat right now. 3060 Ti seems to be edging it out.
We even have one from Mr. Mean. I don't know. It says 3060 Ti, and I own a 3080.
Although I will say that even though we were trying to go between these two choices, we did have people in chat who were saying 6800 XT still. So.
Oh, they're great cards.
Yeah, I mean, there
sure.
should be an award for, improving. I mean, this is awesome, right? Having AMD right there with NVIDIA is awesome if you could get the things right. And
It's funny.
that really has colored it for me.
One person actually said specifically in their answer 6800 XT at MSRP.
That makes a big difference.
Yeah,
This is kind of like what we were talking about with consoles, right? Like, if you play 1440p gaming, 6800 series does that better than RTX 30 series. If you like ray tracing, you got to go with it's coming to GPUs now too. Which is good.
Okay. All right. Well,
Makes these shows hard.
before I flash up this slide, 2 questions for you, Brad. Is Ti? Is it 3060 Ti with no space, or is there space?
Space.
Okay, so there's space. Second question: is it specifically the Founders Edition? We should have got into that.
We should just do 3060
leave it
Ti.
general. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Then I will flash it up on the screen. The winner of the best GPU of 2020, according to the Full Nerd Crew, is the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 Ti. Look at that. Wow, the chat has spoken, and if you missed being here live to vote, you should show up because it's always a fun time.
It was a very maybe polite way of being like, sucks to you.
Yeah, sucks. I'm sure there's people listening to the podcast right now just yelling at us. How could you do this? You're screwing over so and so. That
if you're
this, the
upset,
other thing.
You needed to be here. This is why democracy only works if you show up.
True. Before we get to the next category, I want to go back to this slide and thank SK Hynix for sponsoring this episode. Gordon, as I was reading off the ad read at the beginning, I think a lot of people might be curious to know why it's the second largest memory manufacturer when, like, you don't hear a ton about them, right? Like, how are they the second largest memory manufacturer?
They've just been, because, memory and NAND is generally, you buy memory that is labeled Corsair or G-Skill, and you generally don't pay that close attention to the actually memory underneath it. And memory maker, SK Hynix has been around forever. They're huge. It's a huge memory maker that I can't remember when they incorporated, but they've been around and in the PC for a long time. So, yeah, it's a real brand, and now we're actually sort of seeing that as we've seen with other brands. It's like, you know what, we sort of need to push our own name out there instead of just kind of letting all the module makers get all the attention. So.
Yeah, and I know, in talk with them while we were figuring out sponsorship stuff, they were talking about the fact that they're really focusing on just these two products, the P31, which is NVMe, and the S31, which is the SATA 2.5 inch drive, because they really want to focus their efforts. Their engineers know this stuff, and they just really wanted to hone in on having these options and kind of set them apart from them working on other drives. So.
Yeah, there's something to be said for having a very focused product lineup, right? You only have two things to worry about and make them the best you can make them out of what you have.
It's what I've always learned about watching those things where, like, Gordon Ramsay goes into a restaurant, like, what is it, Kitchen Nightmares or whatever. Gordon Ramsay goes into a restaurant, and one of the first things he's just like, you have like 8 pages on your menu. You should just focus. Just make the best things that you can make. Don't serve everything under the sun.
About restaurants too.
Right? So yeah, interesting. Okay, so anyway, yeah, just wanted to.
I will say, Jack in the Box is an exception to that rule because they have everything at Jack in the Box.
True. So yeah, thanks again to SK Hynix for sponsoring this episode. Now let's get back. I'm going to flash the slide on the screen again. The next topic for the 2020 Nerdies is PC case, and I want to go over to our resident PC case.
I'm going to go first. I feel like I should go last, kind of like Brad, actually.
Oh, really? Because you don't want to.
I don't influence everybody.
Okay.
I'll go first again.
Yeah. Then this is the Gordon
has
show.
no fear.
Yeah, go for it.
I have no fear, and here's. I really appreciated the NZXT H1. It's that console that basically Microsoft ripped off to make the Xbox. It's the PC case that Microsoft basically ripped off to make the Xbox. I love that because building in a small form factor has never been as easy as that, and I really do think it really makes me think. And I know a lot of case manufacturers are very hesitant to do this, but to have basically a purpose-built case with pre-wired power supply, pre-wired cooler for the case is something I'd like to see done even more, because it really just, besides making it really easy to build, I know people are upset that takes away some of your choice, your freedom of building stuff, as long as they follow industry specs, but they still make a case where everything is just pre-wired, and the exact case length, the exact hose length for the cooler. If they could do something like that, I think it's really nice for people who just really want a beautifully, clean computer. So, and I think the H1 really sort of exemplifies what could come in the future. I mean, it's small form factor, so it makes sense to do it there, but there's no reason to say, hey, we're not going to do this with our other cases too, where you get our cooler and our power supply, everything's set up for you.
I totally forgot about that one. That is a good one.
I actually, that was in the consideration for my picks as well. The reason I decided not to go with it was because they had that issue where some of them were like catching fire and they had to recall them and they put the sales on hold. So that's a big. It's good for them that they put the sales on hold and they're refunding people and they're fixing it and rolling it back out. That's good. That's what you want to see from a company. But that's the reason I'm not nominating that.
I just remember bringing up that what that was a screw in the flexible PCIe cable that was just a little too long, a half millimeter too long, so short, right? The fix is basically them sending you 2 new screws. So
that's not bad. Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Like you don't have to send it in. They're just going to send you a repair kit.
Yeah, you just remove the screw and you put a new one in. So, and then of course new ones will have the updated screws. So, just so people aren't afraid these things are,
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. That is on my short list. I agree strongly for all the same reasons that Gordon said. I actually haven't had a chance to play with, I think, any new cases this year. It's just been a real weird year. Usually I have cases in here, I'm building stuff. This year's just been real weird. Everything's coming out all at once at the end, and I haven't built a lot of PCs. So the case that I'm going to nominate, although I am very likely to follow whatever Elena's lead is because she is the case goer around here, is the Fractal Design Meshify 2. I really love the original Fractal Design Meshify. I believe it actually won Best Case Award on here a couple years ago because I liked it so much and convinced y'all. This is basically that, but with a mesh front and different tweaks on the inside just to make airflow better, improve thermal design. So they're taking an already great case, making it cooler. I mean, what more do you want to ask for?
I like it. Yeah, man, I totally forgot about that H1. But yeah, that wasn't going to be my pick. We got a couple things in the chat real quick before I get to mine. We got Willow Jiggy thrown in for the Corsair 4000D. Somebody else said that one as well. Tekwashan said 4000D airflow. Flash Photo had a good one. Best case, reusing the shipping cardboard box.
I saw that one. That was pretty funny.
That's the Gordon one. The Fantex P500.
That one.
Which is what I have my video production box in, right? The
yours
P500A. Oh, 300.
300.
Oh,
Yours is
got it.
smaller.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Good case. I like it. Al Bundy said, "Be quiet." Base 500DX. Yeah, the people thrown in for the 011D Mini, of course. That's not a Mini. 4E0 said that. But my pick is going to be one that I haven't built in, but I've seen it in person, and it is the Cooler Master Box NR200. Personally, because it's one of the first small form factor cases, other than the H1. The H1 definitely got me interested, but this one I was like, wow, I could definitely see myself building in this case. And it's not too small. It feels just about right. It's definitely small, but it feels just about right for what my needs would be. So yeah, that's what I'm going to throw in, the NR200.
All right, it's my turn.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna kind of take the long route to getting to my nomination. So
Take your time.
It might be music that plays you off the stage, though. So.
I'm the presenter. They can't play me. They can't push me off the stage. I've got my little. Next year we should have little cards.
Oh yeah, a sealed envelope.
We should have little cards that we're reading off of. So this was known for. Yeah. Anyway, so cases this year. Well, if you've been following it, you do know that it's been the year of airflow-oriented cases. So, I mean, people have mentioned them already in the comments. You have PureBase 500DX, which is the airflow version of their silent case. You have Corsair's 4000D, the airflow model. You have Lian Li's LandCool 2 Mesh, which is really well regarded. I think that one has like 200 millimeter fans at the front, which is pretty awesome. I haven't been able to get that one in yet, mostly because of my schedule, but I do want to look at it at some point. And then there's been just like also a lot of love this year. I feel like, at least in more of a mainstream perspective, for small form factor cases. So, you know, you have the H1, you have the NR200, and arguably, even though it's not a small form factor case, the O11 Mini kind of fits it, just because it's just, I mean, it gives you a ton of room for a mini ITX board to do whatever you want with water cooling. And again, it's definitely not under 20 liters. It's like twice the size. It's like a 38-liter case. But I feel like in its heart, it wants to be a small form factor case. Like, I mean, if you compare it to the other O11 cases, it is the littlest of them. So in its heart, it's like, small.
Maybe they'll come out with a O11 micro. That'll be the truly small form factor case.
That would be 25 liters.
Yeah.
still kind of chunky. So there was really actually a lot of great things in the case space this year. Like there's just no way that I could do all of it. I wish I had more time in my schedule for it. Like even like stuff like the Cooler Master, was it MB311L or whatever, that crazy. They're almost as bad as monitor names, I swear to God. It was like $60, and you got this like micro ATX case with addressable RGB fans included, which I thought was kind of amazing. And then if you're building in these cases, they've gotten so much better. Case manufacturers are really up in their game with where like things route, how easy it is to get parts in and out. It's really thoughtful. I mean, even the crazy low-end budget case I used during last week's live stream, I fully anticipated having to get a Band-Aid, and it was like no rough edges to like stab me and otherwise mutilate my fingers. So good times. All right, I feel like I've talked this up enough. All that said, my two choices for the nomination boiled down to the O11 Mini and the NR200. And the reason I picked those, even though there are, like I said, a lot of fantastic mid-tower cases designed around airflow this year, is because I like to see a little bit of innovation, you know. And I will admit there's a little bit of that in the pick here, where I want to live with that wow factor. And the airflow cases are great, but I'm not sure if they necessarily like knock your socks off, because a lot of them are kind of imitating the same design. You know, like it's almost standard now where you have a shroud for the PSU to hide it, and then you have like a certain amount of space in the front for your radiators, and then you have a couple of like different mounting points for, you know, an AIO cooler or, you know, actual custom loop stuff, and it's pretty straightforward. But the O11 Mini, it's modular. I love the idea that you can put anything from an ATX board down all the way down to a mini ITX board. You get a lot of say in like where you can place all of your cooling. You get a lot of say over, you know, how much room you want to leave for yourself for that cooling. And it's a great showpiece case. You know, like if you really want to go like full, like, I'm trying to think of a family-friendly phrase for this. If you want to go full bore on this, then like you can just bling that thing into oblivion. Like you just have all the flashy lights and it'll look amazing. But I decided not to go with that as my nomination because I feel like it really makes you have to choose some form of liquid cooling, right? And that's an expense that not everybody will want to pay for or can pay for. And that's why my pick is the NR200. So it's the same as Adams, and he actually outlined a lot of reasons why. At $70 MSRP, it really makes small form factor builds a lot more accessible to people, because historically small form factor is quite expensive. Like the mini ITX boards are already higher in price, and then if you like start looking at cases like what the Dan cases and all the other ones that are a little more niche, you're paying like $150, $200 for these cases. And so I feel like somebody who might not have a lot of space, like let's say somebody in a dorm, they can't afford to necessarily put that much money into a build. But the NR200, like it feels really nice to build in. Like it doesn't have like a cheap plastic feel. It is really easy to build in. I think it's laid out really well. And again, that price is fantastic. So for this year, my vote is NR200. And I feel like if I could stump harder for it, I would. But now I've run out of steam.
Nice, yeah. Nice.
I'm the only one who picked a full tower case or mid tower. Interested.
Well, there was another nomination for a full tower. I just didn't know if it was too soon. VC Jester put in his 2 cents and said Steve Burke got a mesh mod, so he nominates him.
That's
Too
true.
soon. But all right,
Yeah,
all right.
does that count? That's messing up your out of the box thermals, isn't it? So
Yes, you don't.
Oh, I will say, speaking of thermals, the one thing I was going to say where it's like H1 was pretty great. The reason I didn't enter my considerations for small form factor was not just price, but the fact that thermals are so bad, even without the potential of fire.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point. Well, I mean, just like everything else we've talked about this year, this is a great year for PC hardware.
I can make this easy. I can give democracy rule and say I agree with the two of you guys. NR200 or whatever.
Okay. All right.
That was
Gordon,
quick.
can we make it a perfect vote, or you still sticking with H1?
I mean, it's far more traditional to go with the NR200, so I'm fine with that too. I mean, it's a good looking case as far as accessibility, which is very important in small form factors, which can be extremely frustrating for a lot of people, right? It's not fun to build the small form factors. So, other than the H1 where they are using the integrated, approach to make it easier, I think that's the other way to go. Is just something a little bigger. Although, I think sometimes people are a little too focused on airflow these days. It's called, back in my day, it's called take the side of your case off when it's hot.
Then that ruins the H1. Like, the H1 looks fantastic. And
Yeah,
it
but
doesn't
I mean-
look the same if you pull off that glass panel.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying it's on any case. I do think that.
Gordon's solution to everything, just take it apart.
No, I mean, it's just that's the way it used to be. You just took the side off, right? I mean, that was a classic way to do it, and it is, yes, it's not optimal. It would be better if you had better airflow, but sometimes I think people realize if you're not chasing that 5%, 3% of it, then it's not gonna, like, these things are not going to stop working. So
He's talking like he takes the case side off to improve thermals, but it's really just so he has room for all his non-modular power supply wires
Yeah.
to stick out the side of it.
Or-
I've seen the lab.
or to tape his cooler to the top.
it works. Yeah, no, I mean that works. But no,
These are all good cases.
And they're all really good cases. I mean, it just goes to show you that, you would think they can't get any better, but they continue to get better. So the mechanical design on these cases, the forethought that is going into them is just amazing. I was thinking of a
good
cool
times.
thing. I was trying to buy an original in-wind case from like the 1990s, and they look beautiful in the day. Of course, today you would just think it's a boring beige box, but back then they were the rage. Or even one of those old Chief Techs, and build in one of those old things, because people sort of, they need to see how far we have come. Just as far as we've come with CPUs and GPUs and storage. You would think something as boring as a mechanical design, mechanical engineering hasn't moved any in either, but man, today's cases are just so much better.
They are.
I think this
So
was
good.
the most interesting year for cases that I can remember since we've been doing this, at least. So it might not get all the headlines like the CPUs and GPUs and consoles do, but there's been a lot of innovation in cases this year.
Yeah.
When they come out, because a lot of them were announced at CES and they just barely came out.
But they're so sophisticated and they look so good, and they just all come together beautifully. Whereas just like it used to be, like your day job was just trying to make the thing not look like, a bundle of wires, and now you could half think about it and it looks pretty good.
I mean, honestly, cable management now is so easy. I honestly think that it's a shame if you don't manage your cables, because it's not like before where it's like, I gotta figure out how to tie these off.
Right.
Yeah, okay, cool. Then I think we have the winner, but before that, I do. Dustin Patrick said they threw in their nomination for the ML 311L ARGB. It's under the tree as an upgrade for my daughter's PC. That is awesome. That's a great Christmas present. Love it. You should, if you're in Discord, you should post a picture of that in our battle station thing. I would love to see after it's all said and done. So all right, I'm gonna flash the slide here, and the winner of the best case of 2020 is the Cooler Master Master Box NR200. And I think I spelled it all right. So nice, cool. Let's keep chugging along. Accessory is always a fun one. We always get some out of left field oddball kind of things. So.
Ooh, speaking of which, can I go first this time? I don't think I've done first yet.
Do it.
All right, so this is called the full nerd, right? So I've got the nerdiest ass recommendation for my pick for this, because this is the only year I'm ever going to be able to nominate this.
Okay.
To me, 2020's best accessory is clearly the year of the HOTAS, or HOTAS, however you want to pronounce it. Hands-on throttle and stick accessory for flight simulators and sims. Obviously, Microsoft Flight Simulator is a big part of that, yes, and that has taken the world by storm, rightfully so. But beyond that, you can also, if you invest you can invest a lot of money, but mine costs like $100. If you take your $100, you can also, this year, Star Wars Squadrons came out. MechWarrior 5 came out. The Epic Game Store put Elite Dangerous up for free a couple months ago, or a couple weeks ago or something. Like, if you want really, really immersive gameplay from a flight simulator thing, this is the year of the HOTAS, and I just gotta toss that hat in the ring.
That's a good one.
That is a very good one.
That's better than mine.
What do you got?
Although I think mine's is pretty good, and let me make a strong argument for this one, because like a meteorite that only circles the solar system once every 20 years or 1,000 years, this year, this moment in history right
Here we
now.
go.
I try to do Matthew McConaughey, but I can't. Got us. This moment in history right now, the best accessory for PCs and PC gaming is the McDonald McRib, because you can get it right now. You can't get it probably later next year. It'll be gone. Right now is your chance, gamer, to get your McRib sandwich.
The quintessential cyberpunk companion.
What does it do for your gaming?
thermals?
For your thermals. Something related to PCs.
Fuels your late night gaming sessions.
Yeah, that barbecue sauce just makes the fans a lot smoother, quieter. You know, you use it as lubricant. Yeah.
I don't know what's worse, trying to clean up a PC after that, or after doing a mineral oil build.
Yeah.
Nice.
Or I haven't heard that in a while.
We have a Pure Track 06 just said the accessory of the year is bots. Buying all of the PC.
I actually thought of that for a hot second. I was like, I don't want to condone this, but...
Oh, we got an interesting one from Sam. They want to squeeze in the Leon Lee Unifan 120 for an accessory. That's the one we saw at CES, right? Oh, okay. Then mine is also kind of there's a couple that I really wanted to throw in there, like serious ones, but they're more just for fun. My first one was the PS5 controller. Even though I don't think it's a great controller for the PC right now, it's one of those ones where I love that controller and I want it to be supported on the PC. Hopefully Sony will come to their senses and have full support, but at least for the time being, there are people on Steam trying to make some mods work for it. So I'm not going to throw that one in there. What I am going to throw in there is because of this year, because I'm at home. I turn off my PC, whether I'm working or playing a game, and I pretty much go right on the other side of this couch, sit there, watch a movie or something, and play on my Nintendo Switch. For me, the Nintendo Switch has been the best PC accessory.
Wait, I thought it had to come out this year.
Does it have to come out?
I thought it had to come out this year.
No, it's just what's your favorite of 2020. There's no hard and fast rules.
Yeah.
Wait, this is not
HOTAS has been around for a while, too.
True. Yeah.
And the McRib came out this year, but it has been out before.
Wait, man, if
It's
I
not
had
the
known
same
this,
batch.
I would have had so many more different suggestions to work with.
Elena, the McRib is the cheapest of all these accessories.
If I had to pick something from this year, actually Willow Jiggy dropped it in the chat. The Elgato Wave 3 microphone. I've actually been really pleasantly surprised with this microphone, and I do love it. Also, I mean, somebody said this earlier. Webcams, right, are the big accessory of the year.
Actually, somebody, Uncle Elias on Twitch actually just said that the accessory of the year were cam links.
Right? Yeah, cam links, OBS, right? This is the year that I really have mastered OBS. Geez, yeah. So there's a lot of stuff to throw around here, but I'm sticking with the Switch because for me it's like the ultimate. Like PC gaming is best when you also have a Nintendo Switch to move away from your desk.
I spent way more hours on my Switch this year than I ever have before. Because, like you're saying, I'm sitting at home on my computer. I mean, when I'm done and don't want playtime, I go sit in my chair with the Switch.
Yep. All right. Elena, what do you got?
All right. So, I don't know, I forgot who it was in chat, but they basically said exactly what I was going to say, which was Leanne Lee's Unifans. I love this idea of modular RGB fans so that you don't have to deal with all the freaking wires when you're trying to do cable management, and more importantly, figure out how you're going to get your motherboard to accommodate all those connections, because not every case comes with a controller. So, also, baby plug for tomorrow. If everything goes well, I will be building for Finally with the Unifans tomorrow.
Oh, really? Nice. Yes.
That's awesome.
Everything goes well.
That is awesome. Another thing that we saw at CES and it's finally arriving.
Well, it came out this summer.
It did?
Yeah, I'm really sorry, Leanne Lee. They sent it to me at the time, but I just haven't had a chance to build with it yet, and I finally have the right case for it. So tomorrow's build should be fun. But that would be my pick for a thing that came out in 2020, because I thought that was the restriction on this.
McRib came out this year, Elena. The McRib came out this year.
I'm not saying anything about you, Gordon. I'm having words with Mr. Murray here.
You know what? And I have to say, you've convinced me to switch from clearly one of the best things ever, which is the McRib sandwich, a cultural phenomena, to support the Leon Lee fans, because RGB fans and the extra wires they bring with them, they suck. So I'm with you. I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with you on that. That is definitely, I think, something I can get behind.
I mean, we have to bow to the will of the people, of course. But I really, really am behind my pick, as I obviously would be. The HOTAS flight sticks, like any other year, like you're looking at, hey, I got this, what can I use with it? Oh, you can use it from 1997 Flight Simulator. There's this one weird indie game that you can play and, maybe have a fun time with it. This year is the year to me that HOTAS, that was what? Star Wars Squadrons, Elite Dangerous, Flight Simulator, MechWarrior 5. That's what? I was counting on my fingers, but I forgot to actually count them as I did it. 4 or 5 games that are big that you can actually use this investment in, and it adds a layer of immersion that you just can't get. And it's what you need when you've been stuck in your house for months and months and months, I think. So I've been getting a lot of use out of my HOTAS stick that I haven't gotten. I've had this thing for 7 years, and I pick it up occasionally. This year I've picked it up again and again.
Brad, I'm kind of with you on that. So my Microsoft Sidewinder Force Feedback 2 from the 1990s actually works in Squadrons. Mm-hmm. At the same time, it's a flight stick I got in the 1990s. So I'm kind of with Elena. That doesn't seem right to include that. It should come out this year.
As somebody who nominated the McRib, which
came out this year.
No, it had been in select stores already. It's not like it went away. They
do not freeze them in some Indiana Jones warehouse and release them every 10 years. These are a fresh batch, I think.
Okay.
Oh, it's amazing.
Well, technically, every single McRib is one that's made in 2020. Sure. Okay.
You hope.
Well, yeah, you hope. Okay. Well, then I guess it's. I guess that's it. I guess it's the Leon Lee Unifan SL120, right?
Well, wait. Did we actually formally vote? Like, right now we got 2 for the Unifans, and you're still in Switch World, and Brad is in
HOTAS.
That's democracy.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. We have a mic.
Well, plus also the chat that was sort of nominated by somebody in chat. So
Yeah.
I think that's 3.
Well,
3 out of 5.
technically, there's a lot of people in chat like in the HOTAS recommendation. But yeah, okay. Let me see if I can spell this all out right. Leon Lee.
While you're figuring that out, I was actually torn. I was sitting there thinking about it between HOTAS or just a steering wheel racing setup, because this has been a big year for sim racing. You could even see like the pros doing it on TV. So it's just been an exceptional year, highlighting the versatility of what's possible with PC gaming. That's part of the reason why. But the HOTAS, like I said, the 4 or 5 big games that came out. So that's why I got my dog.
Also, while Adam is doing that, I went back and I calculated it. I apparently cannot do an off-the-cuff read on chat poll voting because it was not nearly as close as I thought. So of all the votes I captured for the 3060 Ti versus 3080, there was 45 people who voted for the 3060 Ti in chat, 16 who voted for the 3080, so that's not close at all. Whoops. And then there were still 6 people who voted for the 6800 XT.
Do not test my
Nice.
Love it.
It is not
That's
my
probably the
fault.
breakdown of how many 3060 Ti's to how many 3080s were
Actually sold,
in
yeah.
supply, and how many 6800s.
So somebody does say, who's it? FX in the chat says, wait, the Unifan is not an accessory; it's a PC part. I'm gonna say this falls into accessory. I mean,
That's fair.
Yeah.
Like, are we?
Yeah.
But like, what? Like, if we're talking about the Switch as an accessory or the McRib at this point,
Whoa.
I feel like I can push a piece of cooling that some people never actually buy extras of. They just take whatever comes with their case.
ooh, man, wow. Wasan makes a great point. The this full nerd, full size mouse pad is is out in 2020. I should have nominated that.
Missed opportunity to promote our own merch.
Marketing
Adam.
loss. Jeez. All right, no.
Well,
yeah.
as you can all tell, everybody, none of us are in marketing.
All right, I'm gonna flash the screen up here. The winner of the 2020 Nerdy for the best accessory is Leanne Lee's Unifan SL120. I think I wrote it out properly. If not, sorry, Leanne Lee.
The only thing that's disappointing about that thing is that there's not a 140 version yet.
Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon.
I hope so too.
All right, let's keep it moving. We're halfway done, and now we're kind of getting out of the pure PC building realm and into some other things. Next up is laptop. Usually a one we kind of lean on Gordon for, because he does a lot of laptop reviews. But Brad, you've been reviewing laptops plenty this year as well.
Yeah. Well, I've been testing them. I've been so busy with
Oh.
GPUs. A lot of the reviews haven't actually come out. But I've actually been testing a laptop that I'm blown away with, and I'm hoping I have a chance to do a formal review soon. If not, I'm going to point to this a lot. The HP Envy 15. It's technically made for creators. It's a beautiful, thin, like less than an inch, lightweight, 4K AMOLED display. You know, just a beautiful portable laptop. But they managed to cram the Core i7 Intel chip in there, along with the GeForce RTX 2060, ostensibly to work, accelerate creative tasks. But it makes it a very good gaming laptop as well. So obviously I don't render videos, but I use it for work when I feel like sitting upstairs. I use it for gaming when I'm close to a plug. And like the screen on this thing has to be seen to be believed. It's the 4K AMOLED is super vibrant. It's 400 nits. It feels like it's like right there at the edge of the glass in the way that new iPhones do, as opposed to older phones, kind of a deal. And it's just beautiful. Has 100% DCI P3 color gamut, 10,000 to 1 contrast ratio, glass trackpad. Like, it just feels awesome. And it was only like, I think 12 or 1300 bucks. Like, it's not outrageously priced. I'm in love. I like it. I hope I get a chance to review it. It has good port selection. I actually prefer that screen probably to the $2,000 G-Sync HDR screen that I'm looking at right now. That 4K AMOLED on this laptop I prefer. So
Yeah, AMOLED's no joke. I tell you what,
Yeah.
I just got a new video production laptop and it has the OLED screen. Yeah, oh boy. It's beautiful.
So it's portable, it's powerful, and it's surprisingly inexpensive for what you get out of the box. HP has a lot of cool presets in its command center. Usually I ignore, the laptop, different things that everyone loads up. But they actually have really useful presets in there so you can maximize for quietness, for thermals, for performance, depending on what you're doing, because this is targeted towards creators. And they all make tangible differences in the experience. So yes, I've tested a lot of gaming laptops, and every other year that I've come to this show, I've come with a gaming laptop as a pick. The HP Envy 15 has just blown me away this year, so that's my recommendation for laptop.
Nice. All right. Cool. I dig it. Gordon, you want to go next, or Elena, or?
Yeah, so I would nominate the laptop that it's not perfect. It's got, it certainly doesn't have the panel of the one that Brad was just talking about. But I really think it sort of set the stage for 2020 and what can be done in a gaming laptop, especially a small gaming laptop, and it's a ASUS ROG Zephyrus G14. And, we saw this at CES, of course, with the really cool LED panel. You can do the animation on that. But the real magic of that G14 is it's about 3.5 pounds curb weight, and you get an 8-core Ryzen 9 4900HS, which is one of the reasons why I was kind of holding this, because I think the G14 sort of exemplifies what can be done. It is small, it is thin. You get an RTX 2060 Max-Q with an 8-core Ryzen 4000 in it, and this thing just wailed on everything that had Intel and 14 nanometer written on it. And it's not that heavy. It's really about 0.5 pounds heavier than an XPS 13 with an RTX 2060 in it. Screen not perfect, keyboard could be better. Doesn't have Thunderbolt, but still, just like you are just getting so much performance out of this laptop that is not going to add that much weight in your bag over a traditional 13-inch laptop.
I like it. I'm gonna go next just because that is my pick. We were at CES. I haven't seen too many laptops since then because we haven't been really anywhere. So I'm mostly going off of what I saw at CES. And yeah, that G14, even though it's not one I would necessarily use, that was the one at CES where it's just like, wow, that laptop is awesome. Like, it's all kinds of small. It's the LED version. There is one without the LED top panel, but it made a splash in a way that I'm probably going to remember that laptop for a while. Like, and the first one to really throw in some hardcore specs, 2060, the Ryzen CPU in there as well. Yeah, that was pretty awesome. So I'm throwing in with the G14.
Well, what a coincidence, gentlemen, because my pick is also the Zephyrus G14.
Wait, hold on.
Specifically the, I don't know if it's supposed to be pronounced anime or anim. I keep wanting to pronounce it anime. I'm sure they did it on purpose. I'm going to pronounce it Anime Matrix version, because that's really what sells it to me. Where it's like, so you have a 3.5 pound laptop. It's got the highest end Ryzen processor, like Ryzen 4000 processor that can kick all kinds of butt. Oh, and by the way, it also does this kind of like random cool stuff on the back lid here, on the top lid here. So for me, it's specifically that model, not the plain one, but that one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that would be nice too.
Well, I wanted to call out the NV15 because I've actually used it and I find it wonderful. But my actual pick, if I hadn't used this, would have been the G14. But I hadn't used that, so I figured I would let y'all. So I guess that's a clean sweep.
that is, yeah, the first clean sweep, yeah.
I thought Brad was going to point out the one weakness that it's just so not 2020, which is no webcam.
Yeah, I don't care that much.
No, I did, yeah.
Everyone is getting a cam link to hook up to your DSLR anyway. I think it was so funny during the first few weeks of staying at home because there were people tweeting where they're like, I've been working at home for ages and now everybody has like a DSLR hooked up to a cam link with a ring light.
My niece, that's actually what she asked for Christmas. A ring light.
Really? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Hey, there's some really good ones out there. Yeah, that's cute. I do want to throw in here. We had a surprising number of people, including sister site Macworld. Roman Loyola is in the chat, throwing in for the M1 MacBook.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Could it win this spot? It's best laptop.
Well,
Can it run Steam games?
Yeah, can it run Steam? If we're talking about running Steam games, Windows, and actual gaming performance, no.
It can run Steam. It can run Steam. I thought they.
Well,
It can run Steam.
Yeah.
Games.
Roman just said, he's like, you guys, especially Gordon, realize that the M1 MacBook Pro is faster than 98% of laptops in 2020.
How can you argue with that? How can you argue with
Yeah.
that?
No, that's I will tell you that nothing integrated is going to touch discrete graphics. Believe me, it's just not true. If anybody is on Reddit or whatever saying that right now, it ain't happening. That
You, another
2060
flood
is
of
not.
tweets, angry tweets sent Gordon's direction.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not.
Oh
real.
my God,
I'm
Roman.
glad that did
was
get
good,
mentioned, though,
Roman.
because that deserves to get a shout out, but it does not deserve to win on the full nerd.
Well, definitely not
Gordon.
for.
Yeah.
I mean, this crowd skews gaming, and ain't nobody gonna recommend, non x86 for PC games. It's just not. I don't think it's.
That's hilarious. Oh my God, I can't get over that. Oh, Roman, I'm gonna give you a high five next time I can. Okay. Then yeah, I'm gonna throw up the slide because no, the Apple laptop did not win it. The best laptop for the 2020 nerdies is the Asus ROG Zephyrus G14. What a cool laptop! What a cool laptop! I dug it. All right, this next one I think is going to be kind of interesting. I'm really curious to see what people bring, but it's best PC game of 2020.
Wait, so we made it specifically game, not software, because I know we were going back and forth.
We were kind of going back and forth on it. Yeah, I mean, let's stick with game for now.
Okay.
And one that it can be. It's not exclusive to the PC. It can be on the PC, or it is also on the PC, and probably runs the best on PC. But just to put it out there, it's not an exclusive PC game.
Probably runs the best on PC, indeed.
Yes. So yeah, let's. Gordon, you want to go first?
Well, I can't nominate things that didn't come out this year. So, although it was patched,
So you can't nominate Halo. Oh man, I'm sorry.
You can't nominate War of Warships.
You can. It's a live service game.
Yeah,
Why not?
it
Actually
got
has been
updated.
recent. I would not nominate it because just simply the player base is not there for it. It's just I don't even know if it's a game or more of a psychological experiment in madness. So, no, I could not nominate that. I would say honestly, Flight Simulator. I think Flight Simulator was just sort of like just beautiful, right? Just kind of like
Also
beautiful.
the new crisis for hardware.
No, but I mean, also, I think it's also like to actually have a game where you could be. There was that hurricane in Texas, and people were flying around the hurricane in Flight Simulator. It just speaks to where PC gaming is going. To be able to rely on real-time telemetry from the planet for your game. Yeah. Oh, PC games in 5 to 10 years are just going to be amazing.
And it's beautiful with a HOTAS.
And it's beautiful with the HOTAS. And a McRib.
And a McRib.
And a HOTAS.
So you have the McRib in one hand, and the other hand is on the flight stick?
Yeah, and then you could look down at your Leon Lee fans.
No, look down, look on the side.
It's Flight Simulator is amazing. Like it's really like back when they were pitching the Xbox as an always-on console, the Xbox One. Like this is the kind of game that I think is the ultimate ambition of those goals. Just not on the Xbox, or at least not till mid next year. It wasn't my favorite game, as impressive as it is. There were a few games I spent quite a bit of time playing. Cyberpunk 2077, I know it's a lot of fun to hate on that right now. I'm playing it on a PC, so it doesn't run like it does on the consoles. And it's running fine. I've actually had not too many bugs compared to most people watching Adam play it on our YouTube channel. I've seen more bugs in his playthrough than I have seen in mine. I love the city, all that stuff. It's not my favorite game, however. At least not yet. I haven't finished it. Wasteland 3 I really liked. Wasteland 2 was our favorite game back when it came out 2014, 2015. I think Wasteland 3 is better than every way. But with just 2020 being what it is, I bounced real hard off the apocalyptic vibe. So I was not able to finish that. And tying into that, my pick of the year, my favorite game, hands down, since I can't nominate Animal Crossing because this is not, full nerd Switch edition, is Fall Guys. The stupid game show battle royale. You control a jelly bean that's hooting and hollering, bouncing around against 100 other ones, doing ridiculous, like Takeshi's Castle style obstacle courses, fighting to be the top one. I'm never the top one. I enjoy it every time. A new season actually just came out today with 7 new maps I'm really looking forward to. Fall Guys is not a game I'll sit there and spend 3 hours playing nonstop, but it's a game that I'd like to spend half an hour plus playing every day if I have an opportunity. And that's the kind of staying power I love.
Okay, I dig it. We're getting some good ones in the chat too. Elaine, you want to go next?
I will, but I also want to say this is an unfair category. It's too hard to pick a single fantastic game.
It really
given
is.
Like the industry has grown to a degree now where there's just so many great games coming out in a single year. It's not like these super old days where it's like you get 12 games to choose from, and it's very clear like which one's the best of them. You know what I mean? So I considered a couple. And I actually really wanted to nominate Among Us, but I haven't played it yet, and I don't think it's fair for me to nominate something I haven't played. But
When it didn't come out this year.
I didn't?
It's been still live supported and stuff.
Yeah.
It's coming to Xbox Game Pass too. Yeah.
Well, it just got announced for the Switch. So
I just think I really like that game for the fact that you don't need incredible crazy graphics to have like an amazingly fun time with other people. Like it really just hammers home the fact that it's who you play with sometimes that really makes the experience, and I adore that game for that because I watch the Let's Plays and of my friends playing it. So
you want to hear? Can I interrupt you for just a quick minute?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. The game is such a phenomenon that before the schools went back remote, my elementary schooler, the big fun thing to do during recess, recess at school, they would sit there and play Among Us, and they'd all draw straws, so one of them would turn out to be the murderer kind of a deal, and they would run around the playground playing Among Us in real life. That's how big of a hit this game has been this year.
I love it.
wow, that's pretty cool.
It's adorable.
I like that.
I love that. That's great. So that was one among the top things, and then I consider Fall Guys. But honestly, Brad, I hate the controls in that game so much. It's kind of clunky. It's very delayed in the reactions. It feels like to me. So the premise is really great, but I hate the controls so much that I rage quit that game after 3 tries.
I chalk it up to they're trying to make it feel like you're playing as a fat yelping jelly bean, and it feels like that. Kind of like how Gears of War feels different compared to other games. But I can totally see where plenty of people probably bounce off of that.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I think that that's the reason why I never play as Bowser in Mario Kart games. I am very much like a Peach or a Toad, a Yoshi type player, because I like a very quick, responsive kind of interaction with the character. But I'm going to pick something that's very near and dear to my heart. I don't think it's going to win anything, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. And for me, it's Ori and the Will of the Wisps. So that's a sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest. And for me, I love this game because it's just kind of got all the right parts. Like, it's a fantastic platformer, and it's a fantastic Metroidvania style, platformer. Beautiful art direction, fantastic soundtrack, and the story of it, like, I love this game because it makes me think of those types of games that actually can be considered art. Like, it's like any other genre, like where it's like movies or books, right? You have the ones that are more art, and you have the ones that are just fun, like they're entertainment. And for me, this starts to trend into like the art category, and I love it for that. I think it shows shows kind of like the other end of the spectrum, what games can be.
Okay.
And it might make me cry now and then, so that's okay too.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful game. Beautiful game. So I have a little bit of a list here, so stick with me for a moment. I do want to give a call out. Some people in the chat, are trying to get in their picks, including some service games like Apex Legends and Valorant. I know those things keep chugging away for sure, but I didn't really have much stick time in them.
Valorant's real good.
Francis Chin gave my little a little nod to the PC edition of Polytopia. I love that game. But yeah, I'm not going to nominate. One of my biggest surprises this year was XCOM Chimera Squad. I loved that game. I would totally take more Chimera Squad. I adore that game. I definitely want to give a shout out to Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. Not new games, but a remaster. But man, I love Tony Hawk, and it runs just amazing on the PC. Like, I love it. And I feel like I didn't get into it as much as I felt like a ton of other people got into it. But Hades, I feel like if Hayden was still here, maybe that would have been his number one game of 2020. I don't want to speak for him, but I feel like that is totally a Hayden game. So definitely a cool game. I do want to give a shout out to two games that got a PC port this year. Death Stranding. I don't think it's perfect, but I love that game. Huge Kojima fan. And also Persona 4 Golden got a Steam version, which that's probably one of my favorite RPGs of all time, if not the... it's somewhere in the top 3. And my favorite game that I didn't get to play, that I wish I got to play this year, was Yakuza Like a Dragon, another JRPG. But yeah, that's probably a long one to dig into. So for me, it boils down to 2. The game I probably put the most time into is Call of Duty Warzone. Well, no, I mean, the expansion was awesome. I do like Control.
Oh, I know. You go to it so often, I just couldn't help myself.
No, Call of Duty Warzone. Almost every weekend, I team up with Willis and Luis, and we get at least 1 or 2 matches in, and just it's been my go-to in 2020 for being able to group up with friends, just BS, play some games, and yeah, I've had fun with it, but it's not perfect. And yeah, the one I'm definitely going to nominate is Flight Sim 2020. This was my very first flight simulator that I've ever gotten into. And not only is it fun to poke around in there, I did a stream where I got to visit some of my old childhood homes in Germany, which was super fun. But like somebody else said, maybe it was Gordon, I can't remember, that this is like the new Crisis. This game is punishing, and it doesn't even have ray tracing in it. So this is going to be one of those ones of like, PC hardware 5 years down the road, how does it run on Flight Sim? I don't know. Let's fire it up. Let's try it out, just because it's so intensive. So that's going to be my pick, Flight Sim 2020. I think it exemplifies everything that is great about PC gaming, because it's a great game, and also it just pushes the hardware to its limits. So that's my pick.
I just realized that I should have, for best accessory of the year, I should have just nominated Game Pass.
It would have been a good one.
Oh no!
Dang it.
Dang.
Too late. Don't go back.
I know.
Go back, revote, recount.
This is a category
now.
This is a category where I would be fine with even just saying, "Hey, each of us pick one." But I agree with everything you guys are saying. I think Flight Simulator is like everything that we celebrate here on Full Nerd specifically, like especially for us and our audience, I think Flight Simulator is as good as it gets as a PC game.
Yeah, well, and another thing I totally forgot to mention, Half-Life Alyx. I wish I had a VR headset to play through Half-Life Alyx. It's not Half-Life 3, obviously, but I would totally, if I had the space and the headset, I would totally have played that this year.
Yeah, we finally got our index, and it looks pretty incredible. So.
Oh yeah, that was backward for a while, huh?
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
But I'll cast my vote with y'all to make it easy, Flight Simulator, because this is a one where it's going to be very personal taste, and I think Flight Simulator is a good best pick for the full nerdies.
Yeah, well, and somebody was like, how do you compare an MMO versus a single player game? How do you it's like this is just for fun, but yeah, okay, yeah. Wait, Brad or Gordon, your vote?
Yes, Flight Simulator.
Okay.
I mean, it's just you can just see where it's going, where the scope of gaming will get, very, very quickly.
Nice. All right, Elena, you sticking with Ori?
Yeah, I feel like Flight Simulator is well represented. I'm going to speak for I'm going to have this stand in for like all the wonderful indie games.
There you go.
Represent.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
And for what it's worth, you guys were talking about Flight Simulator being the next Crisis. This is a year where we got two of those. I think Cyberpunk is actually going to wind up being the next Crisis. That game is ludicrous when you crank things up.
Yeah, well, and there was people in the chat being like, oh, it's clearly Cyberpunk, but for me, I'm still early enough in that I can't just throw it out there as like, oh yeah, my game of the year. It's definitely an awesome game. Yeah, we'll
have to see where it goes. My two favorite games of all time are Deus Ex and Witcher 3, which this is like a blend of that. So far from what I've played, I really, really, really like it. Like, it's one of my top 3 games probably of the year, but I don't know if it's going to be an all-time game for me like those other ones are.
And somebody said in the chat that the best game of 2020 is getting drunk on your couch.
How's that a game?
I don't know.
How do you... Tell us more in chat.
Okay, I'm going to flash up the screen. The 2020 Nerdy for PC game goes to Microsoft's Flight Simulator 2020. Hell yeah! It did not want me. It did not get me to want a HOTAS setup though. That's a little bit too much dedication to the space. But yeah, I love it. All right, these are probably. So the best innovation and worst trend are the two that we added last year for the first time, I think.
No, I thought we had it more than last year. I think it's been 2 years.
Oh. But I'm looking forward to this one because I think this is real fun. Sure, it's not pure hardware related, but it is something that we can get passionate about. So let's start with best innovation in the PC space. Gordon, you want to go first?
Well, I was going to originally say I thought hardware ray tracing for this year is going to be the breakout year. But yeah, not going to do that right now. Instead, hear me out, because earlier I was dissing Roman and Macworld. But I think if you really want to consider pure innovation, although technically this wasn't PC innovation, that the M1 chip in the new MacBook Pro and MacBook Air are deserving of praise from everyone. I think it's amazing what leading edge TSMC 5 nanometer process can do. Believe me, I've been running some benchmarks and comparison laptops. Roman's been running stuff as well for me. It is very, very impressive. It is not the flexing you should expect from the fanboys on the internet that think it's just simply over and done with. Believe me, that ain't even true by any stretch of the imagination. But it is still very, very impressive for performance, for its thermals, and it is something that should be recognized. I know I'm a hater, but I don't believe in being a fanboy. And if you ask me, the biggest innovation this year, I mean, there have been awesome stuff with Ryzen 5000, 4000, Tiger Lake, and all that stuff. But M1 really is very different. It's not going to be a PC, frankly. The Mac is no longer a PC. I think you could definitely argue. But I still want to throw in to say that what Apple has done with unlimited, infinite money is truly pull off something pretty incredible. Because if you look at Mark Hockman's story on our website this morning, looking at the performance of Qualcomm, custom ARM chips on Windows, and then you look at what Apple has achieved with the M1, I think it is very deserving of praise, because we should not be fanboys. You should not be beholden to one philosophy, one view of life, and I think it definitely is something that is deserving of praise, because it is incredible. Is it something that changes everything and is going to wipe out the PC? I don't think so. Is it something the PC has to respond to? Sure, certainly. Is it a PC? I don't know if it is a PC anymore, but I do think I want to point out that I think it's very, very impressive and deserving of being called out.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'm sure Roman's on your side cheering for that one. So
The people in chat are too, actually.
yeah.
No, you gotta. I mean, that's the worst thing about fanboys is they color it because they think it. They'll run to one benchmark and think this is it. But let me tell you, it ain't it. There's all kinds of other things you have to look at. But it is incredible from what they have done. At the same time, it is not what the fanboys want it to be, which is just basically they ruin everything because you can't really look at it and appreciate it for what it is. It's just simply ridiculous to cheer for your dumb team because that's all you can say.
Okay. Yeah. I like it. Brad, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's actually been a super cool year on the innovation front for technologies that let you get more out of the hardware by using smart software tricks and different things like that. Like if you look across the ecosystem, stuff like smart access memory with Ryzen 5000, smart shift with Ryzen laptops, dynamic boost with NVIDIA laptop GPUs, advanced Optimus I've been testing, which is with your G-Sync display on a laptop, it intelligently switches between integrated graphics and NVIDIA graphics when you're gaming and when you're not. It sounds simple, but holy crap, it makes gaming laptops last so much longer. It's great. But for me, I think the best innovation this year is DLSS 2.0. And here's where it really, really sucks that NVIDIA pulled all that dumb crap with Hardware Unboxed recently, where they cut them off from Founders Edition reviews and were saying they're behind the times because they don't test ray tracing. They don't consider it as much of a priority as traditional rasterized games. It's been a big mess. You can find it all over YouTube and the internet if you want to. And it really sucks that all that happened because I really do think DLSS 2.0 is a game changer this year and could be going forward. And now it sounds like I could be an NVIDIA shill getting a message from the secret messages they sent to Hardware Unboxed. So that really sucks. So with all that out of the way, DLSS 2.0 is awesome. The first version of DLSS, which uses Tensor cores inside of GeForce graphics cards, uses machine learning to upscale images to get you more performance with very little visual fidelity hit. DLSS 1.0, that was the promise. It didn't happen. Everything looked like Vaseline was smeared on the screen and whatnot. Didn't run great. DLSS 2.0 came out earlier this year, and it works like black magic. Like, I love it, especially if you're using quality or balance modes. You'll get significantly more performance out of your graphics cards, regardless of whether or not you're running ray tracing. For free, basically, if you have one of these GeForce cards. It's very needed in some games that lean heavy on ray tracing effects. Cyberpunk, if you max out the ray tracing of that, you need DLSS. It's the same thing in Minecraft. Even Minecraft is fully path traced. If you want to play playable frame rates, you need DLSS 2.0. But the technology is so useful that we're starting to see it in some other games that don't even support ray tracing. If you look at Death Stranding, if you look at F1 2020, they put DLSS 2.0 in those games just because it kicks ass. Like, it gives you a lot more frames, and if you're playing with quality or balance settings, you can't see them unless you're pausing the game and pixel peeping, like you're looking to see a difference. And I hope
No, go ahead. Sorry.
So to me, that is the biggest innovation this year. DLSS 1.0 was a disappointment. To me, DLSS 2.0 is a huge advancement in the game changer. It really sucks that NVIDIA pulled all that dumb crap with Hardware Unboxed. It's going to make me likely to support Gordon's M1 chip vote, because that was another one on my short list. But yes, DLSS 2.0 is my pick.
Nice.
I was going to ask, which cards does that run on?
Any RTX cards. So RTX 20 series or 30 series. GTX it doesn't run on.
It seems like there's a follow-up question there. No.
There's a 1080 Ti joke.
Oh, got it. Okay.
No, I'm not questioning that at all. Why would I be able to run DLSS 2.0 on?
Yeah. And just to finish that up, I was, trying to figure out a way to word it without sounding irritated over everything going on, in the news sphere recently. DLSS 2.0 is the difference maker for me between AMD's new badass cards and NVIDIA's cards. It really hurts for AMD where you buy a card that's $700 or $1,000 to play 4K games and you can't run ray tracing at 4K because AMD does not have a DLSS rival. To me right now, DLSS 2.0 is the key advantage for NVIDIA and a huge innovation.